like I said, at some point, like a few years ago, I just became more curious about it, more curious about the afterlife. And so I just started reading some books and watching videos. And then the whole number thing was really what flipped the switch, because there were just circumstances where it was ridiculous. Like I was playing online poker, like for fun. And I had like, 200,000 chips and I lost a big pot. And then after that, I was like, I lost. I can't believe it. Then I look at how many chips I had left and it was 717. And I was like, oh, geez. So it was just stuff like that. And so I think I was just being called to, hey, it's time to, start moving on. And I think that's what happened.
I can't, I'm not supposed to just tell you what's happening in your life. Like to be of service to you, the best dynamic is for you to start asking what's happening, and for me to help guide you, as opposed to me pulling you. It's more me orienting you down a path of truth, like a path of exploration. If you think about standing blindfold in the middle of, I don't know, a field, and you can go in any direction possible, right? Your path is uniquely yours. All I can do is help, kind of like a little bit of pin the tail on the donkey. All I can do is try to orient you properly so that you go down the path intended for you for this incarnation. And so, like, for example, the numbers, I mean, the simple question around the numbers is, where are they coming from, or why am I receiving them?
And I still see those numbers. The medium I saw just said, those numbers mean you're on the right path, the particular pattern I was seeing.
Yeah. So why who's sending you those numbers? Where are those numbers coming from?
I don't know.
Yeah, so those are the sort of questions, right? Like, why does an academic meteorologist draw himself into more of a spiritual space? Like, where does a thought come from that's orienting you down a unique lifestyle? And like your experience with Christianity, which is, I spent time in the communal church, but I didn't draw into the ritualistic practices of the religious establishment around me. Right? And everybody orients themselves differently around religion. Some people just buy into it. Other people, they don't necessarily reject it, but they don't find themselves really attached to it. And so all of that speaks to a great deal of understanding that would help you start to realize more profoundly what it is that's calling to you, why you went into the NDE space as a space of exploration. Some people hear an NDE and they either dismiss it out of hand, right? Or they try to dissect it, trying to prove that it can't be true or what have you. And other people, for whatever reason, are so fascinated by it, they just get called further and further into that space of thinking that there's something beyond the physical realm, and the curiosity can consume them. Just like the 717 is an indication of alignment. 717 is coming forth from your higher self, or your at some point, I'll give you a little bit more of the information around the complexity of it. But for now, just think of the 717 as coming from your higher self, which is the spiritual part of you that remained. It's kind of like the command center. You're in the battle zone. The command center is sending through instructions. Okay.
That's a good way to think about it. Yeah.
Well, you've dropped into a planet at war. So there's an energetic war underway. And you can see the dark forces that want the high school to go into the dark side. And you can see they haven't yet mounted their response yet. It's more like a chess game at times. But there are the light forces that are called into service that are going to create a vibration that's going to shift the planet into the positive.
It's funny because that's how I look at the world now. The whole American political process that's been going on the last 4-8 years. I just look at it as kind of that dark light jousting going on.
What's the time frame? 4 years? Or so? How many years?
Just in the last few years, with what's been going on with the elections and I just look at it through the frame of what you're saying, that, there's these forces at play and it'll be okay in the end. But it's actually a good thing that I think the earth is going through this, because I think we have to. All these things are now being brought into the light, right?
So yes, they're being brought into the light.